Hi, my name's William Wynn. I'm going to be doing venison jerky. We're going to just start off by telling you what you need to even start making venison jerky. Right off the bat, you're going to definitely need a knife, some cutting boards, a bowl, and a bunch of different spices. Some of the spices that I like to use are just sea salt or sea salt and garlic, pepper, and then you can have already made spices. One is roadkill grill, and another one's Reaper Spice, and I get that from the Pepper Palace in Destiny Mall. And there are, if you go to Bass Pro, any other outdoor sporting goods store, they can sometimes have already made like blends and stuff like that, all different flavors between pepperoni, barbecue, original stuff. And obviously you're going to need some venison, and you can't buy this in the store. You would have to go out and actually go and hunt a deer to get venison, which is very unique in and of itself because not a lot of people hunt in New York State, well, at FVCC. And you also need a dehydrator. That is your most important part. Right off the bat, you're just going to have to cut, either you use the hindquarters, the front shoulders, or any other part of the deer. And if you're going to use the hindquarter, it usually end up getting a chunk of meat like this. Right off the bat, you'd either want to cut it in half, and then after you cut it in half, you can keep cutting it until you're at the thickness that you want your venison jerky to be. Now I only cut it in little strands, like not even an inch wide and probably like 4 to 5 inches long. And then once you get that going, you just have a bunch of other pieces. You just keep going, keep going, keep going. Now you get something a little bit like that. You might want it a little bit thinner than that, just so you don't have to wait so long for it in the dehydrator. Because once you get it onto the dehydrator, it takes 12 to 16 hours to be fully done. And that all depends on how you prepare it, the thickness of the meat, and everything like that. After you get it like this, I usually just throw it into a bowl. Maybe you can cut it a little thinner. Now, they don't come out into perfect little rectangles. They'll come out in all different types of shapes and sizes. You throw it into a bowl. You choose whatever you want. For this demonstration, I'm probably just going to choose the Roadkill Grill meat rub. Now, this Roadkill Grill meat rub usually has a little bit of salt, but it also has this little tang to it. It makes it a little bit spicy, a little not spicy. And after you get it on the meat and stuff like that, you can either rub it in, you can have it, but you do not want to over spice it, because if you over spice it, all you're ever going to taste is salt and just spice. It's just, you'll be eating spice. For some of the, for like the different parts of the meat and the different stuff like that, some parts of the meat of the deer will taste different. It won't taste a ton different, but other people prefer the front shoulders or just part of the back straps, which the back straps is considered one of the best parts of the meat of the deer, which that is true. But after a while, you can keep going. You can have as much venison jerky as you want. The only problem with having venison jerky is that there's two different ways that people like to do it. They either like to grind it up, and they got this little little gun type thing, and you put the ground meat inside of the gun, and you can squeeze it, and it'll make little rectangular pieces. I personally like to just cut it up like this. You can have it any size you want. You're not worrying about if the meat's grounded up enough. And after you get all your meat cut up and everything like that, you'd have to turn on the dehydrator. And after you spice everything up, which I should probably just keep doing, you can have it on here. You could do it in a bowl, but you want to do it so the spices don't go everywhere. Now, it's a pain in the ass to clean up. Once you get everything going, this can work with either ground meat or just throwing in slices like this. You just throw it into a bowl or a plate or anything you want. And if you want to just do it all ground up or anything like this, you just throw all the spices in and you just take it and mush it around. And it should evenly displace everything. If it doesn't look like they're evenly displaced, either add more, or if it looks like there's just too much, as you take it out, put it on the dehydrator or something like that, just give it a little rub or so, and some of the spice will come off on your hands, and it ends up being pretty decent altogether. So after you do this, you can buy a dehydrator at any store you feel like getting it at. Usually Walmart will have them, Bass Pro Shops, all that other stuff. And afterwards, you take it off. There's multiple layers to a dehydrator, and you want to always start on the bottom. And after you throw it onto the dehydrator, you just throw it on, just like this. Now, it doesn't matter how much jerky you put on each level, as long as they're all like spaced from each other, none of it's touching each other. Because after a while, when you have more each time, you can throw the top on. It will actually just maintain heat and air exposure to all the meat all together, which helps cook it way faster. So if you're gonna ever get a dehydrator, you kind of want one with multiple levels, and it just helps, because especially if you want a lot of meat or you got a big family, it helps a lot getting a ton of meat. The finished product will kind of look like here, I wonder if I have it here. It'll actually end up looking kind of like that, kind of shrunk up, like it's got the nice little spices on it. They all look different depending on what type of spice you want. The funny thing though is that if you put the Reaper stuff and mix it in with everything else, it'll actually trick some people, so they'll end up yelling at me for having too much of a hot spice, but probably running this way too long. That's usually just how you make venison jerky. It takes a long process, but it's really good.